Julian Robinson, welcome to Profile.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, fantastic career, and that's partly what we're here to talk about. But even before we went on air, you had to go on the phone and make an arrangement, because in addition to this career, family, marriage, children, and I want to talk a little bit first about the career. Member of Parliament for South East St. Andrew, 3-term MP so far. Opposition spokesman on finance planning and the public service. You're a former general secretary of your party, and you have a journey professionally that's led you from London as a sort of business management consultant back to Jamaica, working at Jampro as well, and been actively involved in several boards. You've been really, really busy. Do you relish being busy?
I think I always want to. My life must have some purpose. And at some point, I think in my life, I determined serving others was what gave me fulfillment. And so after a period of time, I did primary school, high school here, went to university, got an opportunity to study abroad, gained experience working in London. That was great. But I always wanted to come back home because I knew my heart was always in Jamaica. And I felt once I got here, what I should do is help to uplift the country. And so I worked in the public sector with Jampro in investment promotion. I was proud of what we did at the time. In the early 2000s was the liberalization of the telecom sector, and we did a lot to attract investment in what is now the BPO industry. We were at the beginning of that process, defining what our approach would be, marketing Jamaica as a location for that. Did that for about 3.5, 4 years, and got more of an itch to get more involved in politics, and I was elected as a Deputy General Secretary in 2003, served in that capacity for a number of years, then got into representational politics, and the journey has continued.
So that journey there and that interest in public service, where did it begin? Because you're from a family that has served the sort of public sector, I would say, or Jamaicans.
Absolutely, in the public sector. Yeah, both my parents both started as teachers. My father worked in the government service in the Attorney General's department, then went away. He works as a judge in the Netherlands. My mother, again, started as a teacher, worked in the public sector in what the precursor to Jampro, Jamaica National Export Corporation, and then in the early days of Jampro. So yes, I come from people who have served and who have emphasized the importance of serving others. Integrity was important, family was important, still is. And I would say those are the three things that both my parents, my mother died some time ago from cancer, but my father is still here. Those are the kind of values that they instilled in three of us. I'm the youngest of three, and my father continues to do that today.
When you talk about, just service, but also involvement as well, because you talk about school, and when you talk about school, Hope Valley Experimental, primary, Campion College, University of West Indies, then going overseas to University of Illinois, but also completing studies at Manchester Business Schools that were started at University of Illinois. And there are two particular things that strike me about that journey. One, the co-curricular involvement, sports, as well as leadership. What are some of the different things that you were involved in?
So from primary school, I've always had a love for cricket and football. I played at home with my father and my brother. In fact, my mother's greatest annoyance was that we would break the things in the house because we would play cricket in anywhere that had a length of about 20 meters. We'd play cricket in the dining room. And so when my mother would cuss, I would say, well, Daddy was playing with us, right? So I started playing cricket and football at home, and then I did it at Hope Valley at primary school. And then when I went to Campion, I continued. I played Sunlight from second form at Campion. I played on the football team. I'm very proud of my time at Campion. We won Sunlight in 87 and 88. We won a number of under 14 and coach trophies throughout that period. And we also did well in football. And importantly for me, we demonstrated that the school wasn't just about academics, that we could do well in other activities. And so I've done that, plus I've been involved from house captain at Campion. When I went to university, I got involved in the Guild. I served as vice president. So I've been in positions where I've had an opportunity to serve and to participate in activities outside of academia.
I want to talk a little bit about the lessons from that. One, first, in terms of time management. How were you managing these different kinds of activities at a practical level? Was it waking up at a certain time? Was it having a specific schedule? What was it?
I had to, because, all right, let's take Campion. So I played both football and cricket, which meant you were either in training or in competition all year round. So when you finish football, you're prepared for cricket. So you realize you never had much time to fool around. I didn't have the option of thinking that I could just loaf out the time. You go to school, you have practice after school, you finish at 5, 6 o'clock, you have to get home, you have to do your homework before you get your rest for bed. So from that early stage, I knew I had to manage time well, because that's the only way I could manage to do all of these activities. So, my parents, quite frankly, didn't have to sit over me or force me. I just knew I had to do it. And I think the ability to manage a number of things came from that very early stage of doing those activities.
What were the lessons you were learning about leadership from the start?
Well, I captained the under-14 team when I was at Campion. And I mean, you realize first, I think leadership, most importantly, you have to do by example. So if you want others to follow you, you have to demonstrate it. Not just by saying it, but you have to do it. You have to motivate the people who are working with you so that you can get the best out of them. And that's so in any sport, it's so in any organization. So yeah, from that early age, I got that opportunity and that exposure. And throughout university, I got more involved in other organizations. And in the public service, I have had those responsibilities. So, for me, example is the most important thing in leadership, that if you want people to follow you, you must demonstrate, whether it is in integrity, whether it is in how you conduct yourself in your personal life, your work ethic, all of those things. I think you have to show people that you are willing to do it yourself and not just say to people, you need to do X, Y, or Z.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about being exposed to different kinds of leadership. We take our first break on Profile. My guest is the opposition spokesman on finance planning and the public service, and he's also the MP for Southeast St. Andrew, Julian Robinson. We're back with you on the other side of these messages.